All right. Welcome to our second portion of Talking Points talk show. And I do have a disclaimer that I need to play right quick for you guys.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of PGGM Internet Radio and its management. Furthermore, the views and opinions of the guests are the views of the individuals expressing them and may not reflect those of the host, the show, the management, or the station.
All right. And
Welcome to another morning of What a True David.
This goes for TikTok, this goes for Facebook, and this goes for YouTube. Okay, W, we're talking about the military rejecting unlawful order. Well, before you go with it, kind of what Manny was saying, before you finish talking about it, when y'all said unlawful and not nothing to do with morals, that's where the problem gonna come in. And I think with the deportation or something like that, if they force military to go into it, because if he's president and he said this is what needs to be done, wouldn't that make it lawful? Would that not make it lawful? It might be immoral, especially if it's people that are already citizens or born into citizenship, or husband and wives who have come together. And now, if it's like people are saying that it's to take away people who are already legitimately here from birth or what have you, marriage or what have you. So go ahead, Mr. W.
Well, that obviously that's a point, a very critical point, because of the way our court system works. And we know it's connected to the laws, Congress. Okay. And then the court system, Supreme Court, and of course, the executive branch, because they can do executive orders.
Okay.
So, depending on the process they use to initiate deportation and what that law states, it's going to probably be up to the United States military to first decide what type of order that is. That's the head. That's the top guy. And then that order would normally just be communicated down the channel. For example, if the top military commander gets an order from, say, the executive branch, which is the president, and his staff look and say, this is unlawful based on the laws. We can't carry it out. That'll filter all the way down. So if they try splits and have other commanders try to carry out certain portions of the order in other states or other areas, it'll be unlawful. However, on the other side of that coin, if it's lawful, then they most likely have to carry it out.
Okay. What's your thoughts, man? Do you agree?
I do agree with Mr. W's assessment. I do want to note on something that you mentioned as far as like it being problematic that it's not based on morality. I would have to disagree that's a problem, because what morality means to every individual, every person, and every military officer is going to vary. Like, I know a lot of people, when it comes to morality and how they view morality, they view it as a subjective thing, and this is the right thing, and this is always the right thing, and this is the wrong thing, and this is always the wrong thing. But from individual to individual, what is right, what is morally right, and what is morally wrong can change. And that's not a very good way to make decisions on a mass military level or even a national level. This is why the decisions are made based on whether or not the order is lawful or unlawful. Going into how, like, again, I agree with everything Mr. W said, that as far as like whether or not the military would comply to an order about the mass deportation, it really is going to be what the specifics are of how the administration would be ordering them to complete this mass deportation effort. If they're giving certain orders that are unconstitutional, like deploying against American citizens, then yeah, some of them might decide that it's an unlawful order because it's supposed to be unconstitutional for the military to deploy against our own citizens. But I will bring up examples like it during the WW2, where Japanese and German Americans did have police and military come after them and put them in internment camps here in the United States. So it wouldn't be the first time that the military was used on American citizens, because these were American citizens who hadn't done anything wrong and whose only crime was being of the ethnicity of people that we were in an armed conflict with. So, and the military complied. So yeah, we have a history where the military has been used, even though it's supposed to be unconstitutional. We have a history where the military has been used against American citizens.
I can't believe that they complied to foolishness if it wasn't right. Now, if it was right, that's one thing. But if it's something that is wrong, like you were saying, it depends on who's, like you said, it depends on who is looking at it and, you know, what their morals are, like you said. Everybody have a different way of looking at morals and what is morally wrong and not morally wrong. So you're right about that. So what's another, so that was something that, you know, I talked about this morning with Daphne, someone that I met on Bella Butters platform, and I invited in, and we did a little talking, and they told me about the Reagan numbers, whatever it was, that came into play, that was part of the Heritage Foundation. And then we did talk about that, about how the military, because their ideal is that he gonna do this and he gonna do that. But my ideal is that it's gonna have somebody in there that's not gonna go along with that. And like I said, because everybody's not MAGA. Now MAGA will go along with anything. But some Republicans are just conservative Republicans. And really a lot of those people could have put that stuff in the foundation in action many years ago, and they didn't. So that means they don't totally agree with it. As you said, even with Reagan, it was certain things he just refused to do that was in there, to certain things he did that kind of messed up society according to y'all understanding and belief. But there was a lot of stuff that he didn't do. So I'm not going to say that something can't get done, like maybe trying to raise the age even further for Social Security. But what I don't believe is going to get done is I just don't believe it's got enough of them Republican people that don't want their own families or to see the presidency stay at 2 terms and a dictatorship. America's not built like that, and neither do I think they want to go back to being. That's almost like a slavery mentality, and it won't be only for the people of color, but it'll be for people, all people. And ain't nobody gonna make me believe that those white tea people want somebody to dictate over them for 20-something years. I just don't believe that one. I don't believe they have enough people in Congress to pass something like that or let something like that get by. Even the conservative Supreme Court, I don't believe they would go for that. What you want to say, Manuel?
Well, because now, like I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I have to look at this and notice that at least for a lot of the Republicans in Congress, they won't be heavily negative affected by a lot of these things. These are wealthy individuals who already have ties, many of them having their own ties to the Heritage Foundation or the Federalist Society. So this is very much an agenda that they've been pushing for. That's not to say that all of them would necessarily technically fall under that MAGA umbrella of the super extremist, like loyal to Trump cultist type thing. Or they might not fall under that necessarily, but the things that DT has talked about doing and the things that the Heritage Foundation wants to do are things that a lot of these conservative Republicans do in fact want to do. Now, are there some that might be like, okay, that's too far? Maybe, but many of those. So what we've seen in the past 9 years with the Republican Party is that any Republican in office who speaks out or opposes something that DT wants to do, one of two things ends up happening. They either get pushed out of the party, they get forced out of the party, or they are bullied into submission. We've seen this. You got John McCain, who was pretty much like I believe he still considers himself a registered Republican, but the Republican Party as a whole pretty much gave him the boot because he was constantly in opposition to DT, and they just threw him under the bus and let him go on his way. And then you have somebody so that's an example of, a prominent Republican elected official who was just pushed out of the party for speaking out against DT. And all these other Republicans didn't help him out and stand with him. No, they just let it happen. And then you have somebody on the other side of that coin, like Ted Cruz, who initially spoke out against DT and got bullied so hard and so horribly embarrassed that he bent the knee, and now is doing nothing but kissing up to DT. And that's pretty much how every issue with this has gone. Either Republicans will get knocked out of the party, or they'll submit to DT. And that's the worrying part about it when saying that. That's why I'm worried when somebody says, oh, well, I don't think there's enough Republicans that'll follow this man. Well, there seem to be. And even those who try to oppose him really get torn apart very quickly and either submit or their political careers ruined.
Okay.
When it comes to SCOTUS, especially the 3 Supreme Court judges, and it's very likely that DT will be able to appoint at least one more during this next administration. All 3 are from the Heritage Foundation. All 3 were handpicked by the Heritage Foundation, have strong ties to the Heritage Foundation. All 3 are very much in favor of everything that DT is talking about doing, especially in what pertains with the dictatorship described by 2025 by the Project 2025. They're all in favor of it. They've been passing unconstitutional verdicts on their cases to interpret the Constitution in such a way to allow this to happen. Again, just the fact that they provided specifically for DT because they wanted it for DT. Technically it covers Joe Biden right now, but they only did it because they were trying to cover DT. DP. The fact that they covered him with immunity for criminal prosecution for any official act as president and presumptive immunity for pretty much anything else he does while being a sitting president, whether it's official or non-official. So non-official acts technically don't fall under the complete immunity. They fall under presumptive immunity. By doing that, they've already basically given him a dictatorship to step into because he can't be held criminally liable for his actions without Congress passing legislation in order to make it clear that the president can, in fact, be held criminally liable. And that's unlikely to happen with an overwhelming Republican majority. Well, it's not an overwhelming, but with a Republican majority in Congress.
Okay. So yeah. Mr. W, before you come back on that, it was something I wanted to say. I wanted to know because he just camouflaged, because he don't, to me, I don't think one of the governors of one of the states, he's not up in the representatives or up there in the big house, up there. But even when he was talking as a commentator and watching the election, he had his doubts about stuff when it came to DT, and I don't think he cared for him at all. But he just go along with the program because he's a Republican. And that is his name, Chris Christie.
Yeah, it's Chris Christie.
Yeah, I don't know if they tried to bully him or not. He started to talk a little bit different and ran behind him for a little while, but he really do not care for him, in my opinion, at all.
Well, Chris Christie is another one of those examples where, so he ran against DT initially in, I believe, 2015. And he ran for the Republican nomination, and during that time, he spoke out heavily against DT. And even after he got knocked out of the running, he was still speaking out against DT. But once DT took office, he bit his tongue and got in line. Now, he ran against DT again later on and tried to once again push that momentum of opposing DT and his crazy ideas. And he got beat up so much that once again, he bit his tongue and got in line. Whoops. Sorry, I got a phone call there. But yeah, so once again, he ended up biting his tongue and getting in line. Does he like DT? I don't think he likes him at all. In fact, I don't think most of the Republicans in Congress actually like DT. Many of them are afraid of him. You know, unless you're talking about the actual blatant MAGA in Congress, where if you're talking about like the MTGs and the Lauren Boeberts and all that, aside from them, I would say that most of the Republicans probably just don't like Trump, but are terrified of him.
Okay.
Because by opposing him, they're losing. They end up losing support from their base, and they end up risking total political, loss of their political career. Or so their other option is to bend the knee and get in line.
But you know what though? I believe the Republicans are out of touch with their own self, because I don't think that his base is really their true base. Those are a lot of people who done come out of nowhere, probably wasn't even voting until Trump started running. Their main base, the people who love the true conservativeness and really just base it on, true religion and not all that old extra stuff that they doing, and that white tea supremacy as a whole. They need to win that base back, because their base is not really make America great. They might be thinking that just because of how popular he is, that's celebritism and stuff like that. Them people there, and people who like the vision and wants to go back to the slavery and all that. As a whole, even the Heritage Foundation, those selected few people that they're let run everything now and run everything now, that is not the basis of the real people of the United States of America. Even in the conservative party, even the Republicans that are conservative, they are not really people that's for that make America great stuff. They are not made, and it's a lot of them, and it's a lot of them have came to the left because of DT and because of the Reddick and because of the right supremacy. They are not really those people, and they got to get in touch with themselves and realize that is not really all of what like I said, because years ago, like y'all said, they've been putting things in place from the Heritage Foundation, but nobody has never tackled it like they're trying to tackle it now because they found somebody that they can play with like that. Those couple people from the Heritage Foundation that are really white tea supremacists. But as a whole, that party and those people who would follow them is not really with that, and they too blind to even see it. You know that's
so the thing about that is that, like, if you follow what the Conservative Party, not just here in America but around the world, because Miss W did mention earlier about an international push to overthrow democracy, and I would say that it's a very conservative push. This has been happening for years. Like, where we are right now with DT is the logical conclusion to everything that all these, quote unquote, like moderate Republicans have been putting in place here in the United States over the past several decades. I don't think that a lot of these Republicans that oppose DT have issue with the ideas of the Heritage Foundation or take issue with the specific policies that DT wants to push. They just don't like the man because he's a bloody clown. He's not a good guy. Even when you got somebody like John McCain who was talking about DT and always opposing him, he said very little in opposition to DT's policies and the policies that his administration were pushing, and was always talking about, oh, he's just a mean guy, he's unprofessional, he's this, that, and the other. It didn't seem like the horrible policies that DT was pushing were the main issue for a lot of these Republicans, as much as just the man himself was not somebody that they liked on a personal level. And that's why I'm looking at this, like, when somebody says, oh, well, these Republicans, there's these Republicans who wouldn't want this and everything. At least the Republicans that have been in office, a lot of them are totally in favor of a lot of this stuff, or at least most of this stuff. They might not be in favor of specific policies, but mostly I would say that those who oppose DT do it out of a personal disdain for the man, rather than a problem with their policies, because you got someone like J.D. Vance coming in who is like DT light. He's talking about the same horrible stuff and doing the same horrible stuff, but he's able to present it in a much more palatable way for Republicans. He's able to present it in a way that seems far more professional, far more coherent than Trump's innate ramblings when he's on stage, versus J.D. Vance, horrible guy, do not like him. He's a snake, but he can present those same exact policies that are every bit as horrible, because they are the same policies, as something that Republicans like to hear, even those who would oppose DT. So I don't think it's a problem of them not wanting those policies in place. I think it's a problem of, as far as their opposition to them, most of it comes from them just disliking the man, not the policies. And that's the problem here. If they agree with the policies, those policies still lead to what we're worried about with DT, a dictatorship, an overthrow of democracy, and basically a return to monarchy, ruling over the United States. Well, that would have been the colonies, but still a return to the days of monarchy.
Okay, Mr. W. What are your thoughts?
Well, Manuel pointed out some very, very good points. What can be added is this. Let's measure the progress of DT and that administration and the mission. Now, let's take the man out of the situation, because we all know that he's not the youngest, and we know that the people backing him with the big money, the Federal Society and all of them, know that he's not going to be around forever. So I guarantee you they got replacements in mind. But let's start back, say, round 213, 214, and take in consideration all what has happened up until this point. And that means Supreme Court with key decisions.
Excuse me, y'all tap the screen while y'all talking, please. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. W.
Okay. Well, take in consideration, first of all, how he got on the ballot. Think of this now. Everything was behind him that he had on his track record, all the court convictions and everything. And Colorado didn't want him on the ballot. A lot of states are going to follow suit. Supreme Court ruled, no, you can't do that. You got to be on the ballot. That's not in the Constitution. But he used a semi-legal term and bent it in his favor. Going against the Constitution. Big, really big. Next step. Immunity. Also very big and powerful. Now, here's the most thing that Manuel was talking about, like the various senators not liking them and all the personalities and so forth. However, but if we look at what has happened to now, he's had the numbers on his side. And that's what matters. If some of those guys don't like him and some of them like him or not, as long as those numbers are rolling his direction, they're building up, he's gaining more power. Like in any sport or any competition, most of them anyway, he's winning. And he's proven that. He's president again. All right? Now, these are events that has actually happened that we all see. Not something we're making up. You can touch them. You can go and pull that case out. Or you can go and check the election results. I mean, all these are absolute facts. Now, how did he get there? By putting all these steps together. Any one of these steps or any variation of sequences could have blown this whole thing. For an example, let's say he didn't get a chance to appoint those 3 justices of the Supreme Court in his first term. And this time around, Colorado said he couldn't be on the ballot because of his convictions. Well, those justices wanted to be on the Supreme Court, and they would say, okay, yeah, we follow the Constitution. He can't be on the ballot. He wouldn't have been president. So everything worked step by step, and it connected. And this is where we are. And these are events that we cannot deny. Now, one last thing, and then I'll close this out. All these details we're seeing are inner working parts of it. But what really matters, the numbers. If you pay close attention to the numbers, you can see it's a lot easier. Now, you can go and dig deeper and start breaking down all the details and all the inner working parts. But if you're watching the numbers, you'll see what's happening. And what I mean by watching the numbers, not just his numbers, but I mean the numbers like in Congress, how they vote, the state numbers, how they vote, what bills they pass. Those numbers. It doesn't really matter, for example, they say, they passed an AB bill. Well, If they passed it and 20% of the population voted for it and 80% of the voting population didn't vote, well, what does that tell you? There's still some resistance there, right? 80% most likely. They didn't vote. So the numbers matter. And I'll end it right there, Princess.
I don't know, Princess stepped away.
Oh no, I heard you. Oh, okay. I'm here. You was finished? I didn't know you was finished. I was listening for you to say something else. But
yeah, well, I close with the numbers matter. If you watch the numbers in all the areas, you can see what's developing.
What you mean, the numbers in all the areas on the vote?
Well, like in Congress, for example, say if one bill or one policy comes up and they have to vote on it, how they vote.
Oh, how everybody vote.
Yeah, those numbers. You don't have to watch the individuals, just those numbers.
Okay, so I was going to say, can they tell, well, I guess they can, because that's how they be able to fact check. Can they tell who voted for what, against or for?
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. What I said was, like for example, you look at a total voting for one bill, and it tells you that 218 people voted for this bill in the House of Representatives, right?
Right.
Okay, well, if they have 219 representatives, that means either somebody was missing or somebody didn't vote or somebody voted against it. But it tells you that 218 voted for it.
Okay.
Okay, those numbers matter. Now let's go to the Senate. Now the Senate is a little bit different, but let's say they voted and passed a bill, the House passed to them with 5150. That means in this case, this year, a couple of those senators jumped somewhere.
Okay.
On the Republican side. Now, if they got all their votes, all their senators vote for it, that means they all agreement with. Those numbers matter. The difference is in the Senate is that the Senate is the core of the control of minority rule. And how that works is you just take, say, the state of Wyoming has about 1 million people, not close, around there somewhere. It has 2 senators with 2 votes. Then you take California as 2 senators and 40 million. Same votes, they're equal, so they can offset each other. 1 million people can offset the power of 40 million. That's the core of minority rule in the Senate. Now let's take, say, 5 or 6 of those states and put them together. Let's say you can put 4 or 5 or 6 of those states together, and they'll have 10 to 12 Senate votes, and they won't have half the population as California does with 2 senators. So they could overrule anything majority in California would rule voted versus those numbers.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
I think I do. Okay,
well, what they're saying, and that's the core. That's how they control the minority right there in the Senate.
Okay.
That gives them minority power right there. And in addition to that, they get to appoint the Supreme Court justices.
Right.
The United States Senate is extremely imperative in all this.
I guess it's not logic. Going to another point, I think I follow you with that. But going to another point, I don't think it's a good idea. And by Biden being the man of integrity that he is, it's no way that he would try to. They got 9 Supreme Justices. The black woman that they appointed, is she a dem?
I'm almost logically assuming, which I don't normally do, that she is. However, I don't know the particular one you're talking about. I was just looking at the total numbers. And from what I understand, he was able to appoint 61 justices. Now, how they balance the lower courts and what they do, as far as which side has power, I don't really have any. No,
I was talking about the one that's on the Supreme Justice. The number, I think it's 9 of them. Y'all said.
Oh, the Supreme Court. Okay, yeah, that's different there. The Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So technically, the Supreme Court is supposed to be nonpartisan. That means, on paper, the Supreme Court, they're not supposed to be Democrats or Republicans, or at least they're not supposed to be like openly endorsing one side or the other. That's on paper. In practice, it's very different. Because in practice, because they are nominated by whoever the president is, whether that president is a Democrat or Republican, obviously, if a president is nominating someone to the Supreme Court, they're going to be trying to nominate someone that they believe will share their values or share enough of their values to get through whatever the president's agenda would be, whatever the presidential agenda would be. So in that sense, it is a very, very partisan government body, and it's been made even more partisan in the past decade.
Okay, before she became a justice, was she a Democrat registered?
Who exactly?
The first black lady justice.
Oh yeah, she's a Democrat.
Okay, so right now we have 9 justices and only one black, right?
There's two black individuals on the Supreme Court. There's Clarence Thomas.
He's a conservative, so
he's a conservative.
You don't count him as black, Princess?
No, he's white. He's white. His wife is white, and he's white. So I don't care. I'm sorry. I got to remember that he is on there. He's black, but no, I don't count him as black. I just said we got one black person on the Supreme Court, and now we got a Hispanic lady too, or another nationality, right?
Sotomayor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up and remember these people because I'm in this country and don't know. Only one I know that I used to love the fact is the one that was on there for years before he passed, and he was black. And, is it Marshall? Was that his name?
Thurgood Marshall or something like that.
Right, that was his name, right?
Right.
I remember him because he was black. Now, what was Colin Powell?
Colin Powell was the joint chairman, chief of staff for the military force. He was in charge of all the military forces, and he was also at one point Secretary of State.
Right, I knew he was something big up there. But okay, so because Thurgood Marshall was the first black and the only black for a million years, right?
It's Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's her name.
Okay, that's the black one. Okay, all right. And we had hell getting her in there. Shucks. Finally got somebody else up in there after he was gone.
Now, Princess, maybe you know what I was talking about when I say the Senate. I want to make the connection real quick with what Emmanuel was saying and what you were saying. The Senate, the judges, they have to go through the Senate confirmation. So if the Senate is not aligned with the president's selections, they don't go through. So the Senate has to be aligned. So there you have those numbers again.
But the only thing I don't like about that Supreme Justice stuff and how they got all them conservatives in there is because they always had the Senate aligned with them, like you said, to try to get all them conservatives in there. Because it looks like to me, you might not have but 2 Dems, and that's providing that the other lady that's not white and not black is a Dem. So that means,
let's take it to an extreme measure, Princess. Look what Mitch McConnell did during Obama's administration. He blocked that Supreme Court position for, I think, almost a year.
I was upset about that. Oh, baby. Was I upset about that? Oh my goodness. That was ridiculous. Is he still, where is he? Cause look like I saw him looking
He's
like,
retiring.
huh?
He's retiring.
Yeah, he got to, because he threw. Because I seen him, but it's time for him to retire.
He got what he wanted.
It was time for him to retire 50 years ago.
He should have never been in there.
He had no business being in the body of legislation, but the American people in Kentucky voted for him. And
what you mean he had no business? He wasn't qualified, or he was a white supremacist, or what?
He's all right. So as far as qualifications go, I don't remember what his qualifications were going into Congress. I'm pretty sure he had held elected office and on a state level.
So he was one of our worst enemies, is what y'all saying?
But he actually came out with a book called The Long Game, and his book gives a detailed description of the strategy that he's been following for decades in order to gain control of the judicial branch and shut down Congress. So the way that our government is supposed to work, and this is like very basic information, but just kind of a quick summary. Congress is supposed to pass legislation. So between the House and the Senate, they pass legislation. That's where we're supposed to get our laws from. And the Supreme Court's role in all this is if Congress passes a law, or the president puts it out of an executive order, or one of the agencies puts out a policy, and somebody takes that policy to court because they believe that it violates their rights, they can eventually push it up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's ruling is basically just supposed to be an interpretation of the law, and whether or not that law is in violation of the Constitution as written. That's the Supreme Court's job. However, thanks to the efforts of Republicans like Mitch McConnell, Congress hasn't really been able to do much legislating because they've pretty much been stopped for they're pretty much stopping any laws from passing. Republicans have been, it really revved up under Obama. Republicans went with this strategy where they would just shut down Congress and not allow anything to pass except for tax cuts, mainly for the rich. In doing that, what ended up happening is one branch of our government, the legislative branch, basically became ineffective. So what ended up happening by getting all these nominees on the Supreme Court, and by Mitch McConnell's plan to have legislation, basically they're not supposed to legislate from the bench. The Supreme Court isn't supposed to be determining legislation. They're just supposed to determine whether or not legislation is compatible with the Constitution. But over the past few decades, it's turned from Congress passing legislation and them being the legislators to the Supreme Court being the legislators. You have that with the examples of the overturning of Roe v. Wade and presidential immunity and all these other issues that they've been steadily tearing apart, where even allowing, like the Supreme Court ruled that a teacher praying in schools, like leading prayer, not just them personally praying, but leading prayer over students, was somehow constitutional again. And there's legislation against that, but they decided to overturn it anyway. So that's not supposed to be the Supreme Court's rule. They're not supposed to be legislating from the bench. They're supposed to be interpreting law.
Okay, so when we say we're going to take it all the way to the Supreme Court, that means they need to find out what the Constitution says about it.
Supposedly, so they'll like the Supreme Court won't view every single case. You can't always appeal cases to the Supreme Court because for a case to get to the Supreme Court, there must be an aspect of the case that brings up a question about it, the validity under the Constitution. Most court cases don't cover that. It's pretty clear. And it's not, most of these, there's no conflict with the Constitution. There's no reason to get to the Supreme Court. So even if you try to appeal it to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court will just refuse to see it. But recently, they've just been looking to just grab anything that they like. The Supreme Court has been looking to just pick up anything, any case that they like, regardless of whether or not it's settled constitutional law, so that they can overturn certain laws and protections that have stayed in place for a while.
I have a question for you, Manuel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my question is this. Now, you point out those things which are obvious now nowadays about the ballot, the immunity. Those are big steps, right?
That's correct.
Okay, now, what step do you think the Supreme Court would take next? They're going to get a case. And as you are speaking to, they take the things they like. But those things they like are aligned based on what we see with DT's policies, to aid him, to help him along. So therefore, there's going to be another one. When it's coming, we don't know, but it's coming. Which one what general area, because specifically, I know you can't point it out, but what general area do you think it will be in?
If I had to guess on a general area where the Supreme Court would pull up another case, at least a major one, like you said, I can't really speak on all the individual smaller ones or all the random stuff that the Supreme Court would do. But I think the next major one would likely be in regards to DT's use of the military and how he can use it and whether or not it's constitutional for him to do certain things. I think what's going to end up happening is DT is going to try to deploy the military against citizens, not just for the mass deportations, which itself would require the military going up against citizens, because a lot of these undocumented live with relatives who are citizens. Excuse me. But also, he's been talking about sending the military against his political rivals and anyone on the left, and the quote-unquote enemy within, who he's also said is just any far left people, and that includes in the media, that includes in politics, that even includes just average citizens who have a platform that speaks out against him. If that comes to pass, I have no doubt that a lot of the courts, a lot of people will be will take that to court, and that will likely go up to the Supreme Court. As far as it'll more than likely get appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court as to whether or not DT can constitutionally do all this stuff. And that's the worrying part, because if that gets to the Supreme Court deciding how much authority DT has over the military and what he can and can't have them do, and the Supreme Court says, oh yeah, sending troops against American citizens is totally fine for a president to do, it's totally constitutional, that would result in a major shift. That would result in the next major shift that would pretty much solidify a military dictatorship here in the United States. That would pretty much be the end of free democracy and the beginning of a true military dictatorship, not just in theory, but as part of the law of the land. So that is my prediction of the next major Supreme Court case that might come through. I don't know. There might be others. Obviously, that's just
Manuel.
Speculation.
Manuel, you hit the nail on the head. You don't have to elaborate the thought. You hit the nail on the head. Because if you go back through history, you'll see that that's how they did it. Mm-hmm. Because what's the policy without a way to enforce it? I mean, look at in life in general, right here in the United States, there are all kinds of laws and policies, but they don't have law enforcement or some agency to enforce it. They do no good. So therefore, military. The question is, how will they do it? Will they approach it from the executive branch and try to give him direct control over the Department of Defense? Or will they try to expand it under the martial law somehow? That would be the question. But you hit the nail on the head. That is probably the next logical step, because with all these policies they're trying to implement, they're no good unless they can enforce them somehow.
So y'all got the idea of that right there. So have y'all decided so y'all still don't know what that case gonna be, but y'all know one is coming up for sure.
I mean, I can't say anything for sure. This is very much speculation. I'm just saying that the next, like W just put quite eloquently, that's the next logical step towards securing this type of military dictatorship, and specifically a conservative military dictatorship. If the highest court in the land decides it's constitutional, that pretty much ends, that ends any chance of like doing anything short of armed conflict.
But look,
we already know that DT is already coming up with ways that he wants, because what he wants to do is he wants to, in his own words, purge the military of wokeness. He wants to get rid of women in the military. He wants to get rid of trans in the military, and anybody in the military, from the generals on high to the privates at the bottom, who are not loyalists to him, who he would just label as quote unquote woke. And by doing this, he pretty much reformed the military in that their loyalty isn't to nation, but to him. So if you can
goodness, we ain't there yet. We ain't at the end time yet, so I'm gonna stand on the fact that we're gonna keep on praying, because the United States of America ain't finna have none of that right now. But anyway, I'm not gonna say they won't try. I'm not gonna say that they won't try. And as far as the Supreme Court being the highest one of the land and dictating and separating law, and like you said, them trying to actually change the law at this point in time behind him and behind the Heritage Foundation. We just gonna say it like y'all said now. Now I'm understanding better if this stuff in this, and if they really think just because of how the rhetoric is behind him and how successful he has been already, it's not going to happen. And like people said, they got to watch the fact of his age. They got to watch a whole lot of stuff. They got to watch the fact that anything is possible. Anything can happen at any time to cut all this stuff short. Because, like I said, I know one man that did stuff over in the other countries, and he done studied this and he done studied that. But still at the same time, like I said, I'm just sorry. I mean, I know, like man, you said, a lot of people have prayed, a lot of people have been spiritual, and things have still gotten passed and happened, and that is true. Even in the Bible time, a lot of stuff happened that shouldn't have happened, and it got through. But at the same time, for us to just, but now I don't want, like you said, that happened in the Bible and happened in this state, for us to be under no dictatorship, no 40 years before it get better or whatever. But the way time is going now and the way things are happening that we are not accustomed to in the United States. Now, it's been going on in the foreign countries. We just don't know how good. Most people don't know how good we have it. I mean, W know because he's been around to all these foreign countries and he done traveled with the military and he done saw the worst how it can get. But people here, and I understand what y'all saying too, they've gotten so comfortable. And we talk about slavery. Shoot, black people got it doggone good considering when slavery was going on, even with the laws being all jacked up on paperwork and the jailing that happens to us, we still got it good compared to what other people have. So with that being said, as a whole, I heard Manuel said something about a lot of the people that are up in the high offices, like the senates and the legislators and all of them, they pretty much got themselves set and dictatorship or a lot of these hard policies won't affect them because they living is kind of made. But even Martin Luther King knew, if you let me tell it, Martin Luther King and a few of the other patriots that really lost their lives and that really was unalive or really stood and walked and drum major for peace, they was doing fine, fairly fine. They went to college. They was up in the little. They might not have been up there in the White House, but they was kind of up in a little high class, even in that time. Because I studied on. I read about Mary Bethune and stuff, and she talks about how she was 11 years old before she could start school. But I didn't even know until I read about her that you had black people that went into the White House and talked about stuff. And she was a woman. She wasn't a president, but I forgot what she said she was. I did a report on it, and I had the I didn't do a report on. Yeah, I might have did a report on it on another class, a history class or something. But I know I let my daughter do the report because I had researched all the stuff because I was fascinated when I learned about her. And she was 80-something years old when she died. Can y'all tell me about that history of Mary Bethune? What her place was in the White House back then? But I said all that to say is that if we can't handle that, so we just not gonna tolerate it. Somebody gonna step up, somebody gonna stand, or either it's gonna be a WA that ain't gonna be nothing nice right here in the United States of America. We ain't gonna have to go overseas. We ain't gonna be sending nobody over there to help no other countries because all hell and hot water gonna break loose right over here if they dare to try to become a dictator, if they dare to try to put a lot of that foolishness and agendas and all that extra immunity stuff for everybody, whatever, that's just not gonna rock. I like they were saying when Kamala was running, ain't nobody going back. And it might not be me, because I ain't got them kind of guts to go out there and stand up in front of no unalivened situation. But there's a lot of people out there just ain't gonna stand for it. They're gonna be worse than a Kuta Kinte. They just not gonna stand for it. And then even not just black people, but white tea people who are not the supremacists, but they not gonna stand for nobody to just take over this country like that. I don't care if it's the president or who it is and how much military he got, because that's why nobody want to get rid of they're I don't know what I can say on here, but that's why a lot of people don't want to get rid of their protection because they planning on protecting themselves. They not planning on, and then some of them people they talk about deporting, it ain't gonna happen because them people gonna go down fighting. They just not gonna allow all this to go. And I don't think them people in Congress really is that naive to think that the military or to think that they're gonna be able to pass laws that's going to take this country back 400 years. I just don't think they believe it.
So, Princess, I'm actually going to have to drop down soon. So, if I may, I'll just make some quick closing comments.
Okay.
So on everything that everything that I brought up here, like, I'm not trying to be like an alarmist and terrify everybody and make them feel like, it's hopeless moving forward. I am very much wanting to inform people on the actual danger that we do in fact face. And I want them to take it seriously, but that doesn't mean that we're hopeless or we're powerless, because the only thing that would leave us hopeless and powerless is if we decided to do nothing. Right. And as I say, almost every time I'm on one of your lives, in conclusion, I strongly suggest for everybody to build up their physical community, their local community, people that you trust, people that you care about, people that will help you weather the storm that's coming, and also push your community to start getting to know who is in charge of your local legislation, who your governor is, who your local elected officials are, and get your community to start pressuring them to start making the changes on a state level and protect your state from that upcoming storm. Also, research who are your representatives in Congress. Get together. Go and find out if there's a organization near you that is opposing this kind of insanity. You can go to most states, most major cities and states are going to have a Democratic office of some sort where you can go in and you can talk with them and see what you can do. Whether if you have the time, you can volunteer. If you have the time, you can do all kinds of things to help prevent the worst from happening with this next administration. The only thing that will really make sure that this type of thing that we've been talking about can happen is if everybody sits on their hands hoping that somebody else will stop it for them. If you're not going to get active in your community, then you might as well just be like, I think the quote being that the only thing necessary for evil to win is for good men to do nothing. If you're a good person and you don't want to see this type of thing happen, I strongly, strongly recommend that you start looking not into building your own community, which is important because that's going to be your base and who's going to get you through this storm, but also in learning about your local elected officials and joining organizations near you that are combating this insanity that we're seeing on a federal level in order to oppose any dictatorship. Because the last thing that I think any of us really want is an outright civil armed conflict. We don't want the civil armed conflict part 2. We would like not for people not to be unalived and not to get hurt, and to prevent this in a non-physically aggressive way. And there's still time to do that. It's just people need to actually get active and educate themselves on what is actually going on in this country and how they can help. Because our nation is at its core supposed to be by the people, for the people. And that only ends when the people decide to sit down and not do anything about what's going on.
Or either do the wrong thing like they did with the election. All that kind of craziness.
With that, I'll close. And Princess, thank you so much for having me up on your live again.
Thank you.
If I know that we don't really have many people here on TikTok watching, but if anybody's on Facebook, my name on Facebook is the same as my name on here, Manuel Rodriguez.
Okay.
So you can. I'm pretty sure it's the same picture on there, or it's a picture of the Mexican. It's a picture of the Mexican and American flag kind of fusing together. So if you guys want to follow me over there, I'm usually on TikTok nowadays.
I'm gonna have to follow you over there too.
over here, shamelessly plugging myself real quick. But yeah, thank you so much, Princess. I do have to go because I was supposed to leave to start working over half an hour ago. And I'm having
Thank you so much. Just keep on getting that news for me though, and keep on enlightening me. Even though it probably seems like I don't be listening, but I'm listening. but you know how I am. But I'm listening.
And also, thank you, Mr. W. I appreciated hearing everything you had to say and learning a little bit about your experiences and from your experiences and some of the things that you had to say too. So appreciate you.
Likewise, Manuel. Hey, great job, man. Great job. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a lot more like you, and I'll underscore that. And in addition to that, everything you just said previously to that, I underscore that too, because we have to do something.
Wait a minute. Manuel, I see a Manuel over here, but this man here is a doggone comedian.
I don't know.
Okay, that ain't you.
My profile picture it'll say Mexican American, and the background will be the Mexican and American flag kind of fusing together.
Oh, okay. But go ahead on, Mr. W. Finish telling him, so I guess we can let him go.
Okay, good. I just wanted to say that, hey, he did a great job. We need more like him. And if we did, we wouldn't be in this situation. But one thing he pointed on, which is it's absolutely true. And that is, if you do nothing, nothing could happen. And he used a quote. And that is a logical quote. If you do nothing, nothing can happen. My grandfather used to tell his kids that if you do nothing, nothing's going to happen, right? Okay, so we know we have to do something. But first of all, what we at least everybody can do, and I'll underscore Manuel again, is that number one is communicate. And make sure that we all understand what we're up against. What's the next logical step be, and how to identify that when it begins to happen, so that they will know what to do. That's important. Okay. And I'll yield with that. And Manuel, once again, thank you. You did a great job. And Princess, I appreciate you. And I will get ready to drop off. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, Mr. W. I'll see you guys. Take care, Princess. Thank you so much.
Okay, you too. I'll be soliciting you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. All right, talk to you later. And you too, Mr. W. Was there anything else you wanted to add, though? He did his closing remarks. Did you want to have some closing remarks about all of what we talked about?
No, ma'am. That was it. I can't add much more to that other than the elaborator. This time not good anyway.
Okay. And what were you the day before when Better Butter was on?
Say again?
We was trying to get you in the room with Better Butter day before yesterday.
Well, if I'm not on, that means I'm busy somehow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that means I had some other priority.
Oh, okay. Cause we sure was trying to get you on, and she ended up closing early because she didn't have enough people or what have you.
Right. Well, I later on I saw that, but that was after I come back. See, I do a multitude of things, so sometimes I have schedules I follow, and sometimes I don't, and sometimes I change around based on appointments, different things.
Oh, okay. I'm saying everybody but man. I mean, but it's a lot of menus, but they are not him, because he said he had an American flag. And what else he say he had over there?
Something about Mexican American.
Yeah, so I don't.
You probably have to read the profiles in order to find out exactly which one it is. But if you had his logo or his picture or whatever he had over here on his profile, you should be able to tap on that, and then it should be a link to Facebook.
Oh, right, okay. You might be right. Right.
Maybe like you try to share him with you on Facebook or vice versa or something. There's something on there you can do. I'm sure.
Right. I'm sure it is too. It should be something that I can do. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. W. And you said that you be up in the jacuzzi, so that's how I be missing you.
Yeah. Well, that's most of the time that's in the morning.
Right, and that's when I be on in the morning. That's around the same time, and I be missing you. But okay, hey, Kathy, how you doing?
I moved it to every other day because I think I was overdoing it a little bit.
Oh,
so
okay.
I had to slow down a lot. I was doing too much.
Okay, but I thank you for all the information, and I hear what all man you said. Like you said, I wish it was more people informed like him as well. I wish I had been more informed down through the years and stuff, and maybe got myself together and tried to run for some kind of office and stuff and try to make things happen, or either just be an advocate, for a lot of stuff, because that makes a difference when you're an advocate. Because I mean, you get out and you get out to the people and let the people know what's really going on, and then you be real knowledgeable. And then when you're knowledgeable, you can convince them and get them and sway them to go the right direction and stuff like that. And because, like I said, right now, and then the people look like to me who really know something like yourself, you're over here where only a selected few people are hearing you. You actually need to be on the CNNs and the places like that, talking about it.
Here's the thing, Princess. Those messages, they get through. They just get through in a different way, in different words, and the people don't pick them up, because a message normally is like a seed. Once the people pick it up, it grows anyway. Doesn't matter, how small it start. My grandfather used to use this example. He said, it doesn't matter how small you are. What matters is your impact. And at first, as kids, we didn't used to understand that. And one day we asked him, because we didn't want to be small. We were kids, but we was, we were small, but we didn't want to be small, right? Okay. So he said, come over here. And he took one, we had a bike. And he went up to the tire, and he took the valve out of it, and the air went down. He said, now, can you ride that bike?
Okay.
And we said, no. And he said, why? He said, because you took that thing out. He said, how big is that thing? He put out a little tiny thing. You seen the valve, the bike tire, in the tube. He said, see, you are important too.
Right.
Just like this little thing. Doesn't matter how big you are. It's how you use and how you apply yourself.
Right.
And and so as time you grow and you learn.
Right. And as Kathy was saying, you do better. Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. Well, all right then. You enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, Princess. Thank you very much, and you have a nice day.
All right. Thank you. All right. See you later, Mr. W.
Bye-bye.
Right. Hey, Songbird, how you doing? Miss Kathy, how you doing, lady? Can you hear me? Kathy, you hear me? Kathy.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you now. Can you hear me?
What just happened?
You hear me? Kathy, you hear me? You hear me? No?
Hello?
I don't hear you.
I'm going to go out and then I'm going to come back in.
Okay. Request up, Kathy. Request up. Send a request. Okay. All right. Okay. You hear me now? Can you hear me?
Okay, I can't, when I do, hold on 1 second. Let me try on something different. Maybe it's what I'm on. Hold on. Because I seriously. Y'all know I had to do y'all know I had to do it. Let me.
Okay. You're going to request, or you want me to send a request? Okay. Okay. How about now?
Okay. Let me try it. You know what? Every time I go in, the screen is black. I can't see you. I can't see it. So.
Okay, let me see something.
I'm going to try it on my iPad real fast. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm going to try something different. Top in Christmas. Hold on. This okay. Here, right here. I'm gonna try it. Maybe. Hold on. This okay. Here, right.
Can you hear me now, Kathy?
It's doing it on here too. So
you still can't hear me?
I'm not knowing what's going on.
Oh,
I can't hear you. Everything goes black.
Okay.
Can't hear you. Everything goes.
Okay, let me see.
Okay. I can hear you. Everything.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. So I can. No, I can see. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. You. I hear you. Can you hear me now, Kathy?
I can. Now what happened?
Okay, let me get this steady. Hold on. How about, okay. Do you hear me now, Kathy?
There. Can you hear me?
Do you hear me now?
Do you hear me? I can hear you. I can see you.
All right. Okay. Okay, go out and come back in one more time. Go out and come back in.
All right. All right, there it is.
You hear me? Okay, I'm gonna have to turn mine off or something. Hold on. I think I'm gonna have to mute and then come back. Hold on.
Okay.
How about now?
Okay. Even better.
Let me see. Hello? Okay, how about now?
I can hear you.
But mine is doing a feedback. Hold on. Testing. Testing. Okay, let me see what I can do. Let me see. Testing. I don't know. They want to act a fool today. You must have a good word.
You know what? I don't know. I'm like, I was listening, and I think I had put in the comments. I was like, when the young man was speaking, I said, listen to what he said. Seeds.
I heard.
Listen, look at here. Look. Listen, this is what happens to us, woman of God. We allow so many people to say so much to us. It plants seeds inside of us. We don't know the power that words and outside sources and other knowledge and other people wisdom really have. It has an impact, and it can drown out, it can snuff out even the word of God. When he said that, that hit me so hard in my spirit. When he said that when his father or grandfather told him about the planting of seeds, and that they will grow. You see what I'm saying? There's two type of beings that plant seeds. God plants seeds and Satan plants seeds. We have to be so mindful and keep in account. I just got out the phone with one of my leaders that used to live here in Dallas, but now she's in Atlanta, Georgia. And she was the Jehovah's Witnesses came to the door. She said, "Do you not know that they've come to my door 4 times?" Now I remember when they first came, and it was in the summertime. But you know, they normally won't come so many times when you are in disagreement with them. But what they're doing is they keep sending different people each time, because she's a powerful woman of God. And she's not going to just sit there and let you just plant any seed into her spirit. You see what I'm saying? She's not going. She said, "I know Jesus is Lord." And I'm not. She said, the woman said, "Oh, you're argumentative." She said, "No, I'm not argumentative. I'm not going to just let you plant any seed into my spirit." She said that my eyes and my ears is the gateway to my soul. And we can't allow anybody or anything, I don't care what it is, to just plant seeds and bring a spirit of division and confusion to our spirit, to where we begin to not know what is true and which way to go and how to move and how to maneuver. Even I'll listen. But when I listen, I'm also listening for the Holy Ghost to see what is right, what is wrong, where I should be, where do I fall in line. But I do know this, even with politics, I know that politics and spirituality do not mix. Because you see the chaos that is happening in the world with politics. What does religion and what does spirituality and what does following God have to do with the politics? Because God is God. He's going to do what he wants to do, how he wants to do it, and he's going to use who he wants to use. And even if we feel we can make if the world is already coming to a point to where it has to fulfill revelations, it's not going to be much anybody can do, because regardless of we live in a wicked world. It's very wicked. The politics are wicked. And a lot of times when we try to get up and get involved in them, a lot of times we become wicked, right? We become wicked because, see, they play by a different playing field. And if God would have allowed any of his saints to get there and exalt themselves into the White House, into areas like that, you begin to have a different mindset. It's no different than a person who can sing, like the young woman the other night, man, the voice, the young man that was on there, the voices. You see what I'm saying? How beautifully they sing. If the industry would have gotten a hold of them, you see what I'm saying? It would have became a whole different playing field. They have been singing for God the 1 minute, and the next minute they got them doing love songs, and the next minute it'll all belong to Satan, because they play by a different rule. That's why you have a lot of gospel people in the industry. Either they fall by the wayside or they try to do their own things and leave the industry out of it. It's just like with us. When we're walking with God and we're doing the things of God and we're taking care of the neighbors and we're taking care of the widows and we're doing these things. See, the Bible says that is true religion, right? Take care of the widows. Take care of the homeless people. When we're going into the prisons, when we're ministering, that is true religion. That's what God requires to do. What do we need politics to do? We don't need politics to do that. We do a better job than the politics do in our own neighborhood. Because why? They're up there somewhere. They don't know what's going on in our neighborhoods, but we do. We do. We know what's going on in our neighborhood. And we ourselves can change things according to how God wants us to move in our own neighborhood, in our own vicinity. Or what God said that he would even give you such a power that when you step into another area, that he will shift the atmosphere. You see what I'm saying? He will shift the atmosphere. It can become so powerful that where chaos is going on, God will shift the atmosphere. Where people are indecisive, God will shift the atmosphere. He will cause you in the power of the Holy Ghost to shift the atmosphere. That has nothing to do with politics. Politicians don't have power over God. And regardless of going into the prison has nothing to do with politics. Nothing to do with it. We individually, we can do what we need to do. Politics has always been around. Always. You had Caesar even back in the days of Jesus Christ. He didn't have to go to Caesar to do anything. He just walked and he did what the Lord told him to do. He followed that of God in the flesh. You see what I'm saying? And then he sent out his disciples and they went out 2 by 2. Had nothing to do. God never mentioned, if you ever think about it, the only thing say give what Caesar that do Caesar, right? Give what God that's due God. He separated them. You give to me what belongs to me. But give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. He separated them. He cannot bring them together. He cannot bring them together. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it Caesar that was one of them where they sent, because he was a king, and they sent Jesus to him to be judged by him? And was it him that was asking Jesus all these questions, and yet Jesus never said nothing to him? He never mumbled a word to him. He said, how is it that I can help you if you don't say nothing to me? You won't this man, how is it? He's no threat. He don't even talk. Let Caesar knew. He don't even talk. But he had so much sin upon him that Jesus chose not to even acknowledge him. He chose to not even acknowledge him. And look at all the things that man was caught in, all these different type of acts and doing all of this sin. But what God is wanting us to do, it blew my mind when the man said what his grandfather told him. You're sowing seeds. And see, that's a purpose thing. If I was someone that was wicked, because I can be an influencer, because I have the power to influence, I can mess this world up just by starting with the people that I'm connected to. You see what I'm saying? Just by starting by my connections. You got evil in this world that sow seeds, and you have people of God that's sowing seeds as well. But what seeds are we willing to intake? You see what I'm saying? We have to be careful of what seeds that we're allowed to come into our spirit, because it's really messing us up. I see a lot of people who want to be in politics, but we don't mix. We don't mix with them. That's why even they'll have the Bible, they'll swear up on the Bible and everything, but they're lying on God's word, on their word, putting their hands upon their Bible and saying, I swear to uphold this, to do right by the people. I swear. And most of them will come in there good, woman of God, and leave out of there tainted. They'll leave out tainted, messed up, scorned. I remember even when we first started, people started talking about Obama. He had a few gray hairs. When he got up out of there, had a head full of gray hairs. Because it's stressful. It became more stressful than what a lot of times they would allow you to see. It's stressful. One person trying to take over the world. See, that's what Jesus came to do. He came and he took over the world. But now that he is gone and Satan is back ruling over this is Satan's world. He's the prince of this world. And he's ruling over. The fight in politics is physical. But they don't know how to fight Satan in the spiritual. They don't know how to defeat him in the spiritual. All they know how to do is join him. They can't defeat him. They join him. I'm just saying. The other night, it was such a Holy Ghost good time. Such a Holy Ghost good time. I had a good time. I was glad to even see you. I didn't know you were on there at first. I was like, oh my goodness. And they said, yeah, and brought you up. I said, Lord, there she go. I know you said you work and stuff. I know they said you work. But I was like, oh, there she is. But you know what? There was some things, even at one point, I wanted to even share with you, because God knows that you're really seeking him wholeheartedly, that you're really, really, truly seeking him. And even when you started the platform, You started the platform with, being able to spread his word and his love to all mankind that would listen, right? But God also said that he also brought this forth so that you may have an ear to hear. And even when you have an ear to hear, he really wants you to begin to hear, not just listen, but to hear. The Bible says, those who have an ear to hear, let the Spirit, what the Spirit is saying to the church. We have to be able to hear what the Spirit is saying to the church, not what people are just saying out their mouth, not the lip service, not me just talking right now, but really, really listen. If the same word is coming over and over again, that means that God is really speaking to you from different people and different angles. You are called to do so much in this world because you have a beautiful heart. And I can say that now because we're one-on-one. But you have a beautiful heart. You really, really do. And you mean well in what you're doing. And you'll give your last to anybody. You will give your last. Listen, that was my last few dollars. God is gonna bless me. That was somebody need $5. That was that last $5.
Man.
Oh my God. It'd be hard to let it go, but you would. You'll give it. You'll give it because you are a giver. Now God said he wants to give you. He wants to give you something. He wants to give you something. And it's so much that you do not have of his, but he wants to give it to you. It's one thing that he will pass by you and say, yeah, keep on doing what you're doing. But he literally stops by to see about you. He really do stop by to see about you, and he want you to have all of what he have. And what does that entail? More than what this mind could ever articulate. More than what the mind, more than what our flesh can ever obtain. He wants to literally have that relationship with you that cannot be shaken. It cannot be stirred. It cannot be tainted. It cannot be watered down. He wants you to see him in all of his fullness. And there's not many people that have seen God in his fullness, but he wants to show you him. He wants to show you him to the point to where he'll shake up your family. He wants to show you him, woman of God. He really do. He really do. Because listen, we talk very bold about the word because we really truly believe in the word. And I've gone through so much to where, listen, it only take a couple of times for him to beat my tail for me to understand that I can't just do it my way. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I never liked whoopings, okay? I was one of them that I used to run from my mama when she went to try to whoop me. I never liked whoopings. And if I didn't like it in the physical, you better believe that I'm not gonna like it in the spiritual. Because he does it worse. He has taken away from me and given back to me and then taken away from me. Woman of God, we just got our water turned back on. And on this time, it's not because I'm doing something so bad. No, I'm past that. It's only because he just really wanted to take me to another level in him and show him that he is God. You got a lot of people that feel like, oh, I gotta have a job to do this, this, and this. That's not true. God will bless you with the finance to have a job, 2-3 jobs, this, all that kind of stuff, if that's what you are requiring. But then at the same time, the enemy will also start blocking you by giving you all these different type of jobs where you don't have no time for God. When you have no time for God, and a lot of people are not seeing that. They'll have all these jobs, right? They have all these many, many jobs, but yet still be behind in their finances. And still be behind on them bills. And still be behind.
I know that feeling.
The Lord said that it's like putting it in a pocket with a hole in it. It's like putting it in a pocket with a hole in it. It's like putting it in a pocket with a hole in it and not allowing God to be God. Sometimes he will snatch some things, jobs and things like that, because a lot of times we allow the jobs to become our source and not our resource. I got to go on this job. I was just talking to my cousin yesterday, and I remember when she said she came down from Mississippi, and when she was staying with my mom and them, and my mom wasn't saved. My mom and them was going, she remembered the church, Mount Horn Missionary Baptist Church over there in Grapevine, Texas. And she said, I remember we were going there, your mom and them were going to that church, and I worked 6 days a week, and I only had Sunday off. And she said, and then your mama would sit there talking about, you got to get up, go to church. You can't be laying around here all day. And she was like, this is my only day off. I just want to relax so I can get ready for Monday. But how oftentimes, look at the age. She was 18 then, and she's like 50 or 51 now. So you relaxed all this time and still did not find God because you were more concerned about working to make sure you had some money in your pocket than having a relationship with God. So from the age of 18 to, man, I ain't trying to do all that. I need to relax, man. I got to work. I got to make this money. To now you making your money, but you don't have God. You still talk the same. Your mentality is the same because I know it. You see what I'm saying? I know it from the age of 18, and here we are now, and I'm 49, and she's 50, 51 years old, and she's still the same person. There has been no change, no growth in her spiritually. When I begin to talk about the spiritual things, she get lost. She lost. She knows nothing about God. And when she began to try to match or come up with what I'm saying, she can't do it, so she get uncomfortable. Kat, I ain't tired of talking to you. You know how we talk in the country. I ain't tired of talking to you, but I need to, I got some things I got to go do. I ain't tired of talking.
Yes,
yeah, okay, hold on 1 second. So I text you, right? I text you a new one. Oh, no, I'm talking to my husband. Yeah, I text you a new one so that it was because it was up to date because you already had the other stuff. Yeah. So all I wanted was like the banana wafers and what's it called, and I need one more block of cheese. Okay. Yeah. Did we have enough butter in there? I know I bought plenty last time, but I got a little bit of refrigerator. Okay, so I'm not gonna need that much. I'm literally not gonna cook that much this year. I'm really not.
Hi, Michael. You're welcome up if you would like to come up.
I'm sorry. Okay, what you say, woman guy?
Oh no, I was talking to someone who came in the room.
Okay.
That my number one part is not. Is it in? You don't have savings on it, do you?
I thought I put it out on there. Did you try it?
I tried it, declined to get to what's called. So I was just off South Home, use one part.
Okay, hold on 1 second, woman guy. Hold on one.
Okay, you all. We were talking to about the politics and had our talking points going. And woman of God, Kathy, came in the room, so I know she ministers. So I was allowing her to minister before I get ready to get off here. I wouldn't dare leave, and she had just came in. And listen, I just had to run right then, but I do need to run in a little bit. But I had purpose. Okay. All right, she's back.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. But I just wanted to just encourage you, woman. I just want to encourage you that God knows. He knows, he hears, he sees. And he's calling you higher, as he is me, as he is. We're all on different levels, but he keeps calling us higher. He said, seek him more. There's more to learn about him. There's more. He just want to blow your mind. He really do. He wants to blow your mind. This is why I had to get out of denominations, religion, things like that, because I wanted my mind blown. I wanted him to blow my mind. I wanted to fall in love so with him that without a shadow of a doubt, I know that he had me for real. And I wanted to stop doing the same things over and over again, that when it was time to pay bills and I didn't have the money, they didn't have this, that I kept worrying about how I was going to get this, how I was going to do this, how I was going to make this through, how this was going to come through. I kept worrying about that one. Got worried. And God said, in order for you to get something different, you're going to have to do something that's new. You got to do something different in order to get something different. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. People call that insanity. I had to do something different. I had to start trusting God so that I can see. The Bible says that signs, wonders, and miracles shall follow all those that believe. But do we truly, truly believe in the signs and wonders and miracles of God? Are we going to certain places or in certain ministries or certain house of God where signs, wonders, and miracles are taking place? Because that's where they're supposed to be taking place. And then it spews onto the outside. Well, I was telling you about the woman of God over in Atlanta, Georgia. See, the church, the ministry she had here was God's Restoration Ministries. If you want to look it up, you can look it up on YouTube. God's Restoration Ministries. Her name is Devia Curry, and she's an apostle. And when you look that up, you begin to see that people are being delivered. That's why there'd be so much chaos going on in some of the churches, because deliverance ain't even taking place in the church. People are leaving out the same way they came in. They may have gotten a good message. They may have, the choir may have sang their hearts out, woman of God, but people are still going back to the same situation because they haven't been delivered from anything. Oh, a demon knows how to sit back and let you get your little old feel good in, but then he gonna rise right on back up. And you're going to be talking crazy or ready to get into it and sometimes fight and all kind of stuff. And God wants to totally deliver us so that we can be free for real. You got people that feel like they're not free, that you would not be free. But the Bible says that whom the Son has set free is free indeed. That's one of the reasons why I don't worry a lot about politics and what's going on. I used to make a joke. I said, listen, I was broke before they came into the White House. I'm going to be broke when they get out. Why? Because that's what I was used to. Well, I've been around almost 50 years, and so I've been around where there's a few presidents that I can recognize that they did exist. And when I was growing up, we lived in the projects. And it was in the projects that we were when they got in office. And we were still in the projects when they came out. And somebody else came in to serve a different term. Come on now. I said, if I needed some help from the president, I can't just call that little red phone sitting on the side that's supposed to be for emergencies. I have to call. They're going to tell me, ma'am, you need to call your local Department of Human Services when you need some food. You need to call the housing authority when you need somewhere to stay. See, all of those are in line by the government. You see what I'm saying? And by state regulations. So I'm like, well, what can the president do for me? What is the president doing for me? I'm going to live how I want to live. Now, look at all the stuff that the presidents are agreeing to these days, and how they changing God's law, and how they taking out, when they took out the 10 Commandments, that's when it all started. Because it used to be the 10 Commandments was sitting outside, and then they listened to some atheists, and then they uprooted the 10 Commandments. They uprooted that 10 Commandments that was sitting outside of that, whatever building. I don't know if it was Congress. I don't know exactly where it was. I may have to look it up so I can have my knowledge on that. But they took that, and then that's when you begin to see the shift. It's just like when they took prayer out of school. You ain't never heard about nobody coming in unalive and no children in no schools. I ain't never heard of that, woman of God. I went to school and I ain't never heard nobody being able to walk into the school with no type of weapons, unaliving children and adults. But when they took prayer out, slowly but surely it came in. So then we're talking about the politics. It seems like the older this world gets, the more chaotic it's getting. And it seems like nobody is able to change that. Nobody is able to change that. Nobody but God. And if we're getting close to the coming of Jesus Christ, I mean, they're gonna be voting until he comes. But where is that? How is that gonna make a difference? Jesus Christ is coming. We still trying to vote somebody in. You're gonna be left behind trying to vote somebody in, because Jesus said, I am Lord. I'm the King of Kings. I am Lord. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give him his little money, his little coins. Give him his little taxes and all that stuff, but they'll come take your stuff. But give to me what belongs to me. Give to me. Give me your love. Trust me. Give me your trust. Give me your commitment like you're willing to give to man. Obey me like you're willing to obey man. When the police pulled us over, we want to obey. But when it comes down to God, we don't want to obey him. This is what the Lord is saying. And I didn't know, like I said, I know it was the political part, because I was trying to get an understanding, not for sure, but I was like, okay, ain't many people really coming in today. Folks getting ready for Thanksgiving, I guess, trying to bronze them turkeys and them hams, trying to get all that good stuff there done. But, God is doing a good thing. I'm going to do a little bit of something too, for these little kiddos here that's out of school. So I ain't got to worry about cooking for the next 3 days. You know, we'll freeze some stuff, honey. Yeah, go on in there and get that ham out of there, that turkey out of there. You know, I'm going to do a little something for them. I mean, I'm going to freeze some too. We're going to have plenty of leftovers, honey. They're going to be back in school still eating leftovers. What? I ain't finna play with them. And then out there, you better eat your ham sandwich, okay? You know, after that, all the food go. Then you grab that light bread, right? Get that ham, eat your ham sandwich.
Yeah.
For lunch. We go sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
God just wants
Kathy,
to
go
that you are beautiful.
Go out and come back in again. And I'm going to get ready to close, but I want you to sing a song. But for some reason, I'm still getting it static whenever I talk. I'm not getting it when you talk, but I'm getting it when I talk. Go out and come back.
Go out and come back. Me?
Yeah, go out and I'm going to request you back up. Testing. I don't know why it's doing this. Testing.
Okay.
Testing.
I don't know why it's doing this. It's doing
Ain't nothing but the enemy.
You see what I'm saying? Listen here. I kind of feel it. But you know what? That's why listen. I'm telling you, God can clear it all up. I don't know what it is, woman of God. I want to make sure that you pray over yourself, woman of God. Pray over yourself for protection, okay? Pray over yourself. Because you know the enemy is after you. You know what you're going through. You know what you be going through.
Mm-hmm.
But you pray over yourself. Anoint yourself.
Right.
Begin to really, 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 really pray and make sure you're declaring and decreeing over your life, because it's time to reverse some things. The enemy have you believe in one thing, but God, his purpose for your life is real. It's a beautiful, beautiful purpose that he has for your life. He wants to get you out of everything that you are going through. He wants to put you into a place. My God, I just hear it in a land that's filled with milk and honey. Because you've gone through a lot, even when it comes down to finances and things of that nature. The older we get, the more we slow down when it comes down to working and things like that. And we really need to feel the security. You see what I'm saying? We need to feel the security that you don't always have to do this, and this, because God is definitely going to make a way, and not just a cliche type of make a way. When I was on the phone this morning with the woman of God, she tried to call me at 5-something in the morning. I was asleep, okay? She said, I'm so glad I know the Lord because I needed you. I said, I'm glad you know the Lord too. Because we both need him. We're going to have to go to him together, depending on what you're calling me for. And this used to be my leader. This was my leader here in Texas, you know. And when she said that, because God has gave her businesses. But let me tell you something, woman of God told her to give up everything. Before she left here, she had the ministry home. She had women's home, men's home. She had her personal home, but I'm a realtor, so I was able to sell her and her husband's personal home. They moved into the ministry home, the men's home. So when she got ready to leave, she had 3 storages and 2 ministry homes. God told her to leave everything, give everything away, and take nothing but the clothes, their personals, and their vehicles. She did. All three of the storages she had was storages from other homes that they had, and had to put all that stuff in storages. So she had 3 full storages, big storages, full of my God, clothes for other people, furniture and everything, TVs and everything. It wasn't no knick-knack stuff in these, and God said, give it all up. She had a tent that fit almost 300 people, with generators, with lights, with speakers, with pulpit, everything. And she had to give that up. She had to give that up. Chairs, 250 chairs. She gave that to people who talked about her down here, who came into the ministry and became monitoring spirits in the ministry, trying to go back and imitate the things that God would do through her. And then they would talk about her. Oh, it don't take all of that. It don't take you coming out your pants. It don't take you doing this, but this is what God did for her. So It don't take you casting out demons. It don't take you doing all this stuff. Because God can do this, this, and this. But this is what God called her to do. She went there to Atlanta, Georgia with nothing. Now when she went there, her husband didn't want to go. Oh, one day I'm going to let her come on here and tell her testimony. If you would let her. I'm going to let her come. I want her to come, and I want you to invite her on to tell her testimony. Because I'm telling you, this woman was in prison at one point. She was a street walker at one point, and she also was She was one of the madams. She was on drugs heavily, and now she got a daughter that's also sitting in jail. Her son, I think, may be in jail now. She didn't raise her children until they got a certain age because she was out there on that stuff so bad. But when God began to deliver her, he started delivering her, purging her in prison. And when God delivered her, now she done started to walk. Do you not know what she just told me earlier? She said, Kathy, in the past 10 months, I done made over $500,000 and I don't even know where it's going. Because when she left and they obeyed God, they started a trucking company. And then there are certain companies that you could go work and get people to work for these different companies, like volunteer, but they get paid. It's almost like a fundraiser type of thing. But they work on real jobs, and they get paid for working these jobs. She got that business going, and she got now 2 trucks. Now she got an 18-wheeler and a dually. She started with a dually, went down there, got an 18-wheeler, and now she's saying in 10 months, I've had over $500,000, and I don't know. And this is what she calling me about, because she was crying and she did not understand where that money was going. I said, now it's time to start being a good steward over your money. Because she just believed that God gave it to me. I just give it out. I give it out to everybody. I just give it away. I give it away. That this is not the season to do that. You just can't keep giving it away. The Bible talks about being a good steward over your money. It talks about storing it up into the storehouse. You got to store it, doing it the right way. If you're going to, now God is talking about being a businesswoman. But I want her to come on and tell her testimony, woman of God, because see, it was testimonies like that let me know that deliverance was real. And she was the one who took me through deliverance for the first time. God used her. I didn't believe it. I didn't think that stuff was real. I thought she was faking. I thought she was paying people. I'm not going to lie. I'm tell the truth. When I went to her, she used to be on the radio station down here. And I thought that when we went into her ministry, I was invited. I thought she was paying people. You hear me? But there was one night that them things was after me. And I had to leave all the way from Terrell, Texas to go to Pleasant Grove where she was living. That was probably about a good maybe 30, 40 some minutes, because I came all the way around by my house and drove, and them things were saying, run off the freeway. Go ahead on, run into ongoing traffic. I'm on the phone with her saying, they talking to me. They trying to get me to off myself. I'm talking to them. They won't leave me alone. They in my ear. I made it there to her house. Woman of God, I parked that van, and at that time I had a van. I parked it in the middle of the street. It was 12 o'clock in the morning. I parked the van in the middle of the street and ran up in her house. And then the only thing I remember was backing up into a corner and saying, help me. Help me. Because see, once you begin to know God for yourself, then them things going to come after you. Once you know the calling that's on your life, them things going to come after you. You're going to start hearing them more. You're going to start visualizing. You're going to start going through so much stuff. But God is just so real. He is so real, because he's exposing these things. And I just hear the Lord say, you make sure you guarding your eyes and your ears, woman of God. Make sure you're guarding what people is putting into your spirit, man. Because this is very important. All information is not informative information. It is not good information if it ain't all coming from the Lord. You got people on here that do not believe in God, and they're saying this is true information. But if it ain't coming from the Lord, if it ain't coming from God, because of the calling that's on your life, your calling on your life is strong. It's strong. You don't even know who you really are yet. You have not yet begun to tap into the spiritual gift that God has for you. And because that calling is so strong, God said you got to be careful. You got to come to him and ask him what it is that needs to take place when it comes down to I hear the Lord say, your ministry. Your ministry, woman of God. Because see, this platform is not just a This ain't this is serious. When we are giving the gospel, when we are saying, thus saith the Lord, that man, if we're not giving the right information, that is serious. God will deal with us. So make sure.
Look, I only have a couple minutes, and I gotta end this in about 4 minutes. Can you close it out with a brief song?
You said you want me to sing?
Yes, ma'am, I do. About take it down to 3 minutes. If you could do it in 3 minutes.
You know what? I would just do a okay. Oh Lord, let's see. Let me see.
You know God gonna give you something.
The song ain't gonna be probably but a good minute.
That's all right. That's all I need, because I'm gonna have to close this out, because see what happens. I record on Facebook and YouTube too, and I have to for the thing that I use. If I want to replay it later, I have to keep it under a certain amount of time.
Okay, there you go. I got you. Okay, so here's what right here. I don't worry about tomorrow. I just live from day to day. I don't borrow from his sun or shine, for the skies may turn to gray. Many things about tomorrow I don't seem to understand, and I know about tomorrow, and I know, and I know, and I know who holds my hand? Oh, who holds my hand? Praise the Lord.
Amen. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
I don't know why this thing acting crazy today. But anyway, Father God, I thank you. I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for this day. God, I thank you for all 4 of the broadcasters that I went through today. The one this morning with just the music, the one with the Bible study, the one with talking on playing music and talking on political points. And even this one, God started out talking on political points and now ending with the powerful woman of God speaking from her heart what God gives her to say. And God, we thank you for her. And God, we thank you for the angelic voice that you have given her, that she will bless this platform and many other platforms, God. And God, as we leave this place, we'll never from your presence, God, and go about our day this day, God, expecting you to be in front of us, expecting you to be carrying us, expecting you to be beside us, God, expecting you to open doors that need to be open and close doors that need to be closed, God. And God, help us to know the difference, God. And we just thank you, God, for being God, all knowing and all seeing. In Jesus' name, amen, amen. All right, woman of God. Woman of God. I don't know what's wrong. But I'm going to end, and I'll see you on these TikTok streets. All right.
Okay, because listen, I've got mine up and going too now, so.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
ma'am. Praise the
All
Lord.
right,
You
baby.
have a beautiful and blessed day, woman of God.
You too. Blessed day.
All right. Okay, bye.
All right, in and